Is $1 million enough to retire on? Years ago, I kind of struggled with these kind of questions. I actually wrote a book, How to Make Sure Your Money Lasts in Retirement, and it's still available on Amazon, by the way. But I want to answer questions like this because I was starting to see my retirement savings get to be what I thought was kind of huge, but I still didn't know about I didn't know if it's going to be enough because I wanted to know, how do I make this money last, the money I do have when I do reach retirement. And I had these kind of questions: how much can I safely withdraw a month? If I withdraw that much, how long will my nest egg last? And how will I know if I'm taking out too much? And then I also considered how inflation might affect all that. And I actually came up with a spreadsheet that I could use. And I actually put them tables in this book. That book is just filled with tables showing you put in your amount that you currently have saved, how much you think you're going to get for your return, and whether you want to take a 2, 3, 4% COLA. Shows you how much money you have left after each of these time periods. I realize this is too small to see. And this was my original spreadsheet. I look at it now, I kind of laugh, but I thought, you know, I need to do something more. Yeah, you can get this book and look at these numbers and it can give you some kind of an idea. But I said, I got to come up with something a little bit better. So that I came up with this channel. Let me show you what we do on this channel. In order to answer this question, is $1 million enough to retire? We need to run some numbers. And so that's what we do. I set up this spreadsheet. Let's say you have the $1 million. You want to know, do I have enough to retire? The key question here is not only how much do you have, but what are your monthly expenses expected to be? For example, if you're expecting to have $6,000 a month coming in, now you don't count your Social Security. If we have returns like the year 2000, this is just showing the numbers for the year 2000, you'd be out of money in 12 years. But most people retire, they get Social Security. Now, if you retire early, this is different. But let's just say you retire and you're getting $1,500 a month from your Social Security. Actually, let's change that to 1,900 because that was the average uh, Social Security payment at the end of last year. So what does that mean? Okay, you need 6,000 a month, but you're getting 1,900 from Social Security. What does that mean? You only need 4,100 from your nest egg. And let's give you a COLA to try to keep up inflation going forward, because you're going to need more than this 49,200 as time goes on. Let's do 3%. This is 49,200 and so on. So this is some of the stuff that we can do on this channel. This is a 4.92% withdrawal rate. That's somewhat higher than the 4% rule. So you might run into problems in some years. Again, what are we doing? We're looking at the returns for the S&P 500 for the last 100 years. Nobody knows if we're going to have returns like the Depression years, like the year 2000, when we had 4 down years in that decade, or we could have some really good decades like the 80s and 90s and 20 teens and 1950s. So we like to run the numbers for every single scenario. But also, you wouldn't leave it all in the S&P 500 because that's not wise. Because if the market's going down, you're taking this 49,200 from a market that's already going down. You're selling low. So let's just run a 70-30 split, meaning 70% staying in the S&P 500. You want to have quite a bit in there, so when the market does come back, you can benefit from that. But you also want to have this cash reserve account, this liquid bucket over here. So when the market's going down, you're taking this 49,200 out of this rather than this, because you don't want to knock this down when it's already being knocked down. So anyway, that's some of the stuff we can do on this channel. But notice, let's go ahead and update this, because we're going to do it for every single year for the last 100 years and see how many times you would have a problem in a 10, 20, and 30-year period, given these numbers, starting out with $1 million and taking out 6,000, actually 4,100 because Social Security. And you can see only 2 times in the last 100 years you'd have a problem in the first 20 years, and 3 times, 4.2% of the time in the 30-year period. You would not have a problem in 20 years if we have returns like year 2000. But notice how close you are to running out of money. In fact, if you look at this a little bit farther, you see you're running out of money in 22 years. Now, people say don't run the numbers for the Depression years, so that's why I'm looking at the more recent period of time. They call this sequence of returns risk. When you start out with 3 down years, you can really be in a problem area. But what else could you do if this was not satisfactory to you, that you were concerned about this possibility of running out of money in 20 and 30 years, possibility of having returns like 22% 2000, 2001, and 2002. That's why I like to do on this channel is show you all the different variables. What if you just went to 5,500 a month? Again, we're looking at this right now in a year 2000, the summary box. You have after 20 years, you're down to $40,000. Well, you might be a little bit uncomfortable if you're retiring in your 60s or in the 80s, but looking at running out of money. What if you just went to 5,500? I want you to watch this 20-year period now. Now you have 378,000 left by just cutting back that $500, which takes the withdrawal rate from 4.92% down to 4.32%. Then how many times do you run out of money? You don't have the close call in the year 2000. You still, every other year, by the way, I just want to show you, we're just looking at the worst case scenarios here. This is the 20-year graph. You can see the year 2000, the depression years, you're running out of money. And the year 2000, you're getting a little bit low. But if we just run this, update this with this 5,500 instead of 6,000. Again, I want to show you what we can do on this channel. I also want to encourage you when you're running your numbers, when you want to know if $1 million is going to last or whatever nest egg you have, you need to first of all look at your expenses and see how close it is to this 4% rule. Notice here, going from 6,000 to 5,500, now you only have one time that you're running out of money in 20 years, and that's 1929. In 30 years, you're running out of money in 1929 and 1930. But every other scenario, you're just fine after 20 years, and you're even better off after 30 years, except this depression period right here. But these numbers just keep going up. Remember, you're starting with $1 million. You got 5 million, 10 million after 30 years. What's happening? These numbers are going up. Notice how they're going up from the 20-year to the 30-year period, big time, because that's the benefit of staying in the S&P 500 for a long period of time, even in retirement. You can see only 1% of the time you run out of money in 20 years, but that's what we do. Just going from 6,000 to 5,500, but that's the kind of numbers you need to deal with. Whatever your nest egg is, you need to try to keep the amount, your expected expenses to be close to this 4% rule because we run this over and over and over again on this channel, seeing that's the rule. It's been used for decades. It is a beneficial rule. Now, if you don't think we're going to have returns like the year 2000 or the year the depression years, then you can probably go higher than like 6,500. Update that. You're going to have a few more years where you're going to run out of money, but I'm just showing you what we can do on this channel. Again, don't forget Social Security. If you get a pension, don't forget that because that really affects how much you're taking from your nest egg because the rest of what your needed expenses are coming from Social Security or a pension. In this case, 5% of the time, I went from 5,500 past the 6,000 up to 6,500. That's a 5.52% withdrawal rate. Most of the time, you'd be just fine. 95% of the time, you'd be fine after 20 years. 94% of the time, you'd be fine after 30 years. It's what is your risk level? We had returns like the year 2000, and you'd be out of money in 17 years. But that's only when you have consecutive years. If we just go one more year, I want you to notice this box right here. Here you're running out of money in 17 years. If we go to 2001, now all of a sudden your money's lasting. You're still kind of iffy. You got 71,000 with only 2 down years. If we go one more year to 2002, where you just have 1 down year, watch this box right here. Now you got 530, almost half of your money left after 20 years. That shows the importance of not having consecutive years of a down market. You have 3 down years, even 1970 and 1973, 73 and 74 had 2 down years, but that doesn't even seem to be a problem because that would have showed up. We do 1973. Again, I'm kind of going long here, but I want to show you what you can do what we can do on this channel, just running numbers for you. You have no problem. Even though you start out with 2 down years, you had such good years following that. It just seems like in the last 100 years, the only time you have problems is the depression years and this decade right here. But because this decade was so recent, I kind of like to throw that in there to just, well, you better consider this. Maybe staying close to the 4% rule. Again, we're up to 5.52, and you have no problem except the depression years in the year 2000. Again, I'm kind of repeating myself here, but I just want to show you what we do on this channel. $1 Million Made Easy. We love to run numbers for people. If you want me to run numbers for you, just give me your beginning balance, your monthly contribution if you're in the accumulation stage, or your monthly withdrawal amount if you're in the withdrawal stage. And these numbers right here, whether you want to increase that or you want to have a COLA, how long you want me to run it for. And if you're in the withdrawal stage, give me your Social Security and your pension, the amount and the start year. Again, if this didn't start till, let's go back to 5,500, which looked like it was in good shape uh, most every year except the Depression years. If you didn't take Social Security initially, if you waited till maybe the fifth year, let's go ahead and run the numbers for that, because here you're not having any problem except during the Depression years. Even the year 2000, you had plenty of money left. But what if you don't do that until the fifth year? Now you're down to 125,000 after 20 years, getting kind of iffy when the year, if we have returns like this is looking at the worst case scenario in the recent past. So if you waited to take Social Security then, after 20 years, you'd be down to 125,000. If you waited till 7 years, say you retired at age 60 and take it at full retirement age, then you're actually running out of money because this 1900 isn't helping you out until the seventh year. So you're having to take 5,500 out and you don't get the 1700 or the 1900 kicking in until the seventh year. You can see it going down from 63, 76. Again, I've kind of made this kind of long, but I just want to show you what we can do on this channel. Is $1,000,000 enough to retire? You need to know what your expected expenses are, and you need to know when you're going to take Social Security and if you have a pension or not. Because you have a pension, that helps even more. And also what your asset allocation might be, and also what your COLA might be. But that's what we do on this channel. We love running numbers for people. Please consider subscribing. Please share this channel with others. Like the videos. Let people know about this channel, that we run numbers for people, um, whatever situation they're in, whether in accumulation or the retirement. Thanks for watching.